welcome to Oddities, Authors, and Stories. I am your host, Jessica Brown. For this month, we will be focusing once again on the theme of theaters and plays, as we mentioned in last month's Oddity about William Shakespeare, as we talk about this month's subject, Frederick Forsyth. Just as a reminder to all of our viewers watching, the opinions and views of this program are not shared by the library or any of its staff. So let us begin about Frederick Forsyth. Fans of the mystery thriller genre may be familiar with the name Frederick Forsyth. His illustrious bibliography includes The Day of the Jackal, The Dogs of War, and The Odessa File. Throughout his career, his books have sold over 70 million copies worldwide. But even some of Forsyth's most ardent fans are not familiar with his one-time collaboration with renowned composer Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber, or Lord Andy as we'll call him. A collaboration that resulted in what's considered one of the worst musicals ever made, Love Never Dies. But before we get to that, we need to go way back, way before both Forsyth and Webber were even born, in fact. There have been countless adaptations of Gaston Leroux's 1911 novel, The Phantom of the Opera. We'd be here all day if we went through all of them, but the two most well-known are, besides the 1925 silent film starring Lon Chaney, is Andrew Lloyd Webber's Broadway musical. The show premiered on Broadway in 1988 and was a smash hit, grossing over $6 billion worldwide, which, if you put the numbers together, that is roughly the worldwide gross of the entire James Bond franchise when you don't adjust it for inflation. It has won 7 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, and as of April 16th, with its final curtain call of this year on April 16th, it is the longest running Broadway show in its 250-year history. It's also the third longest running show in West End London stage, right behind Les Miserables and Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. And we will have an oddity about Agatha Christie soon, but let's focus on Frederick Forsyth. Despite this massive success, Lord Andy wasn't content with resting on his laurels, as theater kids say he should have done. He was already thinking of ideas for a sequel to Phantom of the Opera starting in 1990 after he and Phantom star Sarah Brightman divorced. He had already settled on the idea that he wanted this story to take place on Coney Island after watching a documentary on it. So then in the mid-90s, he and Frederick Forsyth have dinner together, and Lord Andy commissions Forsyth unofficially to write a novella that would act as the bones for a potential sequel to Phantom of the Opera, with a few requests of his own. The main ones being that Christine and the Phantom had to have a love child for a reason, and Raoul had to be impotent. And it also had to end with the fact that Christine had to die at the end of the story, and the child goes off to live with the Phantom. Forsyth knew that this was a dramatic departure from what he is mostly known for writing, but he took a shot at it. And here is the official proof, Phantom of Manhattan, showing that this is not a joke. This is a real story. And to say that this reads like terrible fan fiction would be an understatement. It's hard to tell if Webber's instructions on how he wanted to present the story were the issue, or if Forsyth was parodying the tone of Gaston Leroux's novel, and it's a term that I use loosely, or if the fact that Forsyth was maybe trolling Webber. It's very hard to tell, because regardless, the writing in this story is atrocious, because it completely contradicts a lot of what people who are familiar not just with Leroux's novel, but also fans of the musical know about the story and the characters. Even at one point in the opening preface of this story, Forsyth takes the Phantom's point of view to make fun of LaRue's novel and sing praises of Weber's musical, and it's hilariously terrible writing. When Forsyth came to Lord Andy with this story, Lord Andy wasn't exactly pleased with it, and neither was Forsyth. But my thing is, Lord Andy gave Forsyth the instructions on how he wanted the story, so he can't really complain too much about it. But that didn't stop him from taking parts of this story, specifically the fact that the Phantom and Christine have a love child, and incorporate them into what would become Love Never Dies. Love Never Dies has mostly received negative reviews. A lot of the fans of the previous show, Phantom of the Opera, give it the infamous nickname of Paint Never Dries. And just like Phantom of Manhattan, the musical reads like terrible fan fiction with the significant character changes that go completely against the previous show. For example, in Love Never Dies, Raoul gets what's referred to as the Ron the Death Eater treatment. I looked that term up on Google. It will make you upset. Where he is portrayed as an alcoholic gambler who treats his wife and child terribly. And this is only done for the sole purpose to make the Phantom look like the better option. Weber apparently still hasn't gotten the hint, and he is still trying to peddle Love Never Dies and is constantly revising it and making minor changes to try and make it work, but theater kids aren't buying it. As for Frederick Forsyth, he went right back to his niche of thriller stories, and he has, for the most part, pretended that meeting with Lord Andy never happened. While Forsyth has retired from writing as of 2018, he is still in the top 10 lists of thriller novelists in history. He was awarded the Edgar Award back in 1971 for his debut novel, The Day of the Jackal, and in 2012 he was awarded the Cartier Diamond Dagger Award for his contributions to the genre. Thank you for joining us for Oddities, Authors, and Stories. Next month is Pride Month, and we will be talking about another LGBTQ author. And we hope that this one will interest you just like last year's. Thank you for joining us.